Right, so online recently I have seen a lot of mistaken opinions about it being harder to shoot Slog3 than it would be to shoot, say, like a regular standard picture profile or something with a baked-in look like S-Cinetone. People seem to think that it is going to be harder to get it right in camera, to get the settings and to shoot it right, and then it's going to be more effort and a lot more fiddling around in post to get a beautiful image, so they just stick to shooting a standard picture profile. This is a complete myth, and today I'm going to show you exactly how easy it is to get it right, to shoot and to edit in post. So I'll show you my exact settings, how to set your camera up, and how to quickly deal with it in post to get a beautiful image. Let's get into it.
Shut up and take my money!
Just in case anybody's gonna get super nerdy and super technical and say, oh, you missed this, you missed that. This is just more of a practical look at it. We're gonna simplify everything down. We're not gonna go too in depth with it and just use layman's terms for a lot of things to quickly and easily get an understanding of how and why we should be using S-Log or log footage in general. Right, so dynamic range. Just keeping it simple, remember, layman's terms. All it is the difference in light measured in stops between the lightest part and the darkest part. Some scenes will have a much shorter range, which means they are low contrast. Some scenes will have a really high range, which means they are high contrast. Unfortunately, our cameras, usually, even the ones with a very good dynamic range, are unable to capture the full range, and compromises have to be made. Right, so what then is S-Log footage? S-Log, or just log footage in general, is using complicated maths to take a wider dynamic range's worth of information and squash it down so it fits in a smaller codec, therefore taking up less space and having more information in post to work with later. Later on in our editor, we can stretch it back out and then have more dynamic range and lots of color information to work with. I would advise not shooting Slog3 unless you are shooting in 10-bit color space. You need that 10-bit because of the information and because of all the extra color data that you will get to get a good image. It is very easy if you shoot in 8-bit to mess it up. If you have a camera that only shoots 8-bit, I would advise just either shooting Slog2, but I think best for 8-bit footage would be to shoot in HLG3. You will get a much better image and it is much easier to work with. With that being said, let's carry on. Right, so we want to go into the menu, then we want to go down to the pink icon, the third tab here, and go in to find Picture Profile. Picture Profile 7 by default is Slog2. Picture Profile 8 by default is Slog3. Or, if like me you are using an FX3 or FX30, you can go into the menu and turn on the log shooting option. This will automatically put you in log, and then you can go in and refine the details from there. Okay, so now all of that magic that the log profile is doing, crushing all that information down so we can get a better dynamic range, it also has the byproduct of making your footage look very grey, flat and lifeless. Now, this can make it hard to shoot and see what you're getting. So Sony cameras have this great function called the Gamma Display Assist, and this just means we can turn it on and it will put almost a LUT or give you an approximation of what it will look like when it is stretched back out. You can turn this option on in the menu and then select the profile like S-Log or Slog3 depending on what you are using. You can also just put it on auto and then the camera will do it for you. Now, once again, if you have an FX3 or an FX30, you can also have the option to put your own LUT on there. If there's a LUT, a favorite LUT that you like to edit with, you can put this into your camera's SD card and then load it onto the camera. And then this will give you a view of what it's going to look like. But don't worry, this isn't baking that look into your footage. When you bring it into your editor, it will still look flat, lifeless and grey, ready for you to stretch back out. Okay, so exposing to the right. All this means is that if you look at a histogram and you can see where the information that we are capturing is, we want it on the right hand side, the overexposed side. Because with log footage, overexposing it, as long as we are not clipping, will get us more information in the shadows and therefore we will get a better all over image. Now it's very easy to do this. You can have the histogram up and just check that all the information is to the right, and you can also make sure that on your meter, the little one in the middle that's got 2 numbers with a decimal point in the middle is somewhere between 1 and 2. I usually like to keep it all at 1.7. Now we can adjust our exposure just by using an ND filter or lights. Okay, so zebras, not those funny, nice, cute animals, but these black and white lines that show up on the screen when our footage or areas of our footage are at a certain exposure value. We can use these to stop our footage from getting clipped by setting it to the clipping point of our particular picture profile. For Slog3, it's 94. You don't want anything above 94, so we can set a lower limit of 94 plus, and then anything above that will be clipping. Now, when we put zebras on, we can see quickly and easily on our screen if anything is clipping. And we can also up our exposure until we see the zebras on the screen, and then back it off just slightly so that we know we're getting the maximum amount of exposure and getting all of that information that we would like into our recording. Right, so we can also use the zebras to get perfect skin tone exposure. We can do this by setting up another custom zebra level and then setting this to the IRE value that the skin tone we are exposing for. Remember, all skin tones expose slightly different levels. We can use a custom button to set the IRE level that we want to expose our skin at, and then when we flick over to that, if we see zebras all over the skin we're trying to get in the right exposure, then we know we're in the right place with it. And one more very easy principle to understand is always try and shoot at your base ISOs. For example, with Slog3 on the FX3, it is 800 and 12,800. Now, because I am shooting with Cine EI, I literally only have the 2 options. I have a button which flicks, I press it and it will flick between 800 and 12,800, and that is all I need. So any of the other ISO values in between those 2 base ISOs will get gradually less clean. Now you still can get good footage in between, but it's just better and you'll get the best image by just sticking to those base ISOs. So remember, always stick to your base ISOs. Alrighty, so now I will show you how to get a good base grade on the clips very fast, very easy. It's not going to be the final finished grade. I mean, we could spend hours doing that, but just a quick get it to looking half decent very quickly, very quickly. I'm going to show you in Resolve first, and then I'm going to show you in Premiere Pro. I'm not going to show you in Final Cut because, hot take, I think Final Cut sucks. If you like it, awesome. I do not. Anyway, you could probably still get the same results in any editor. It's just these are the ones I'm familiar with. So look, I have some clips here in my media pool. I'm gonna grab all 5 of these, dunk them in the timeline, neaten them up there a bit, and we'll just go to the first one in the color page. Here we are. You can see the waveform all over here. It's pretty squashed because it's shot in log. Okay, so first of all, we are going to delete this one node here. So we've just got these 2 points, the in and the out, and I'm going to use this node tree from, I'm going to butcher his name now, Darren Moyston. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's a UK-based professional colorist using Resolve, and he gives away this node tree for free. It's basically set up with all empty nodes. They're all labeled ready, and you can just drop this in there, and we can already see it looks really complicated. Now you don't need to use all of these nodes every time. You can use just the ones you need. That's the idea. They're all empty apart from a few of them, which are the color space transformed. And this just saves you having to set this up yourself every time. So first of all, we can go to here, the node number 1. This is our color space transform, where we just need to tell our software what camera we shot it on and what color profile. So you can see here, everything else is okay. We just need to bother with these ones at the top here, input color space and input gamma. So I shot this in Slog Gamut 3 Cine. There we are, so we check that. Select Slog3 from the drop down, and bam, look, that is already looking pretty good. So now, because I exposed this and got it all right in camera, just that one step of converting it back to the color space that we're going to be working in, or at least working in DaVinci in, which is DaVinci Wide Gamut, then it already looks pretty ace. I mean, we can go further with this, Like you can now we can go in deep and we could adjust our balance, our contrast, our saturation, all these other different things. Sometimes if it is you know, here at the end, the thing I like about this is I love a good film look, and I love the Kodak film print look. So this is being set up so that you can just, it's turned off at the minute, it's not using the film look, but we can just Control D, and now that is the Kodak film look. So we can turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. I'll kind of find it, sometimes it goes a bit too bright, but I do love the colors. So then we could go back into our balance and exposure, and we could just bring down our highlights just a touch there, so we get some more detail back in those curtains. And you know, then we could go through from here and tune things like the highlights and get a good look. But I mean, that just in that short space of time is already looking pretty good. I mean, there's still loads more work you could do on it, but you know. And now the best thing about this is if you just want to apply that to all the other looks and then tweak it from there, we can just shift select all those 4, even though they're not the same ones, and then press middle mouse button over the one you want to grab the grade from. Pow! Now they all have the same grade applied to it. And if we just go back to here, look, we can this one, they're kind of in the same place. They're looking pretty good. There is more work to do, but you know, that's a huge amount of change already done. This one here, I mean this one is the exposure is way too high. We can see it on the scope, so we can just bring that back down. And if we didn't want the film look, we could turn that off. But I mean, kind of like that. We can bring that back down quickly, and that is already. Although once again, we're not going for final images here, but just in that short space of time, look how fantastic that is already looking. Talking ahead of me, that pretty much, like, you know, we can tweak it, but it's pretty much there. And then this one here, we can see this is overexposed, so we can go back to our balance and exposure and just quickly drop it down. And okay, try and get it into a place there, and see how good that is already looking for just the short space of time. Now we can go and we can rake back through it, go through all these different nodes and change all of the things that we like to really get a good final image. But look how quickly we just got it back to looking pretty awesome anyway. All right, so now let's do this in Premiere Pro. Bit of a different approach. We don't have color space transform, but we do have utility LUTs. Utility LUTs are not a specific look per se, but what they do is they just do the same thing as the color space transform. They bring it back from the color space that they are meant for, and put it back into like a Rec 709, which is, you know, it adds much more contrast, saturation, all the things that it did when it squashed it back down. This is just going to stretch it back out and give us a good base grade. It's much easier in DaVinci. DaVinci is the color grading king for a reason, and I much prefer color grading in DaVinci, although there are many things, and I'll make a video on this, that I still like about Premiere Pro, which DaVinci doesn't have. The main one being those guidelines which you can drag on the screen. In DaVinci that kind of sucks, but for color grading, DaVinci is the absolute king. This is a little bit different in Premiere Pro, but I've got the same clips laid out on the timeline here, and I'll show you how to do that. Now, you can get utility LUTs for free from the Sony website for whatever color profile you want to shoot in. So in this case, Slog3, you can go get it from there. Or if you want to invest a little bit of money, you can just get these with somebody else who's already done some good ones. There are some Leeming LUTs who are very good conversion ones, although they are a little bit, you have to really pump the exposure on those ones, because I always find it makes your footage a little bit dark. They are fantastic for HLG, but for S-Log, I like, I'm gonna butcher the guy's name now, so sorry Joel if I'm butchering your name, but Joel something. He does the Phantom LUTs, and they are supposed to simulate the color science of an ARRI camera. So I like these a lot. They do some film look ones and some other ones which are more tungsten balanced or more warm, or, you know, like there are some slight looks in there, but I just like to use the standard neutral color profile from ARRI. Right, so over here in the color tab we have the basic correction and the creative section. And the creative section, you can add a LUT and then dial the intensity up and down. And sometimes I mean, that's more for look LUTs, but it's also good sometimes if you have a utility LUT that's going a bit too hard on the contrast or something, you can use it to dial it back. I generally don't find you need that with the ARRI one, so we're just going to go into the basic correction tab here, and we're going to open up input LUT. We're going to browse, and I've already got this open because it's already in my my things I just did a minute ago. But you can see here we have, if I go back out a minute, we have phantom LUTs, and we have the ARRI LUTs and the film LUTs. The film LUTs are the ones that are more of a look, and the ARRI LUTs are just ARRI simulations. There's obviously two folders, DaVinci Resolve and Standard. We're not in DaVinci Resolve, so we're not going to use that. And then Legacy and Regular Exposure. Regular Exposure just means we exposed it exactly how it's supposed to be. 0, on the meter, or just, you know, all in the middle. And as you get better results, or I find you get better results with exposing to the right by 2 stops, we're going to use Legacy, because that's what you used to have to do to get good results. And we're going to choose the neutral A7S3 picture profile. We're shooting on the FX3, but they're basically the same camera, so it works just as well. And now watch this, look, we just click open, boom. It is already looking fantastic. That was just one click of selecting the LUT. And then from here we could, you know, we could go in and do whatever we want. We could pump the contrast a bit, we could lower the shadows, however you want to grade it. See, and we can just do that on all these other clips, just along here. Browse, and we can try a tungsten on that one, but no, maybe not, just a neutral. And there we go, look. We can do the same thing with copying the grade here. So if we copy it, we select all these other ones, press here, paste attributes, and just choose make sure just Lumetri color is done, and then kabam, we have already got these clips back to a good place to, you know, to finish the grade. Just go from there. But one click gets it done, gets it in the ballpark. That was not hard, was it? So if somebody tells you that Slog3 is hard to get back to a base grade, absolutely not. Just a click away. And you could even just do it manually. You could, if we just reset this, look, we could also just go into, like, say, our curves and, you know, make a basic S curve. Oh. And then go back to our basic correction, crank some saturation back in there, and look, I mean, that's nowhere near as good as what the ARRI job did, but that was 2 seconds. We could already get it looking completely different. Always hits a spot, a good coffee. Has that dispelled, is it demystified S-Log or log footage in general for you? That it's not hard to shoot and get it right in camera, to expose right for it, as long as you just do a few key things and change a few settings on your camera, pay attention to a few things, and it is easy. And then in post, a couple of clicks and you can be at a good base to start your grade from. It is fantastic, and like I've mentioned lots of times before, you get a lot bigger dynamic range, therefore you can, I find it easier to shoot than less limited than a standard picture profile, or no picture profile I should say. And yes, it wasn't a technical explanation, it was just a layman's terms that everyday man could understand without needing too much technical knowledge. Let me know down in the comments, do you shoot log? Will this now change your mind to shoot log? And until next time guys, peace.